me ask this. Jarrett Guarantano, how good do you think he is?
I think he has potential to be very good. I think living proof where, like, I do believe in advanced metrics. I do. But I don't believe in them solely. I think you have to, like, balance them out against an eye test to a certain degree. And I think Guarantano has, I think partially because of Tyson Helton's style of play, I think Guarantano was very measured and reserved last year, and they limited his mistakes, so they kept all of his ratios and stats, stuff like that. But I think that Guarantano has a lot more to prove going forward this year. I mean, I will say this: look, I think Vols fans should be tired of hearing about how great he is at the camps and the passing academies, things like that, because there's only been a couple of times where you really saw him take over a game. I gave him a lot of credit for that Auburn win. I thought he played very well in that.
Or is that the coming of age? Well, nothing followed it. That was the problem. And I'll give you this. I want to know your thoughts here. Would you like to see him scramble more? Now, I'm not a big fan of the scrambling quarterback. I'm a fan of the play begins 10 yards down the line of scrimmage after you throw it. It doesn't begin 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage when you're running for your life. That's, Marky Billson football 101. But nevertheless, we kept hearing Guarantano, dual threat. He didn't run much last year. Would you like to see this incorporated more into his game? Or do you think really to get to the next level, he's got to be that guy who can pull out a 3rd and 10 with his arm and not scramble for 7?
He is the type of guy that he could at least scramble a little bit when he's under pressure. I don't think he should look to do it. He's not that type. He's not Josh Dobbs. But I do think that he can elude pressure if he has to. I think remember Tyson Helton's offense last year. That's an offense solely based on timing. Mismatches with the receivers and the speedy guys on the outside, and then time passes and things like that. So I think he's going to have a little bit more freedom to do that.
All things considered, I think the Vols took 25 sacks. That's a number that's going off from the top of my head. You play 12 games. Okay, in the NFL, that would be about 34. I love that. I noticed in the West Virginia game, he didn't really get off any long passes until it was garbage time. Against ETSU, he did, but the receivers were always wide open. Then when he started throwing more against Florida and throwing deep, he was picked off a couple of times. And then it seemed like, hey, the cards were kept very close to the vest. It worked against Auburn, didn't work that much against other teams. And so I'm just sort of curious here, what do you think the Caldwell on Eric Ainge? What if there was sort of a curse of Eric Ainge? And the thought being that if the feeling was that it was Tennessee's right to beat the eventual national champion, a number 1 team in the country, and stop them from doing so, downs in the other drive and such. Much the way, yes, Red Sox fans maybe unfairly blame Bill Buckner for their loss in '86. Much the way Pittsburgh Steelers fans blame Neil O'Donnell for their loss in Super Bowl 30. It would be horrible for Ainge, but this is the guy. It's not the program is behind LSU. Do you think that possibly that way Tennessee could have avoided a losing record the next year and some of the imminent demise that resulted in the last decade or so?
If they had beaten LSU, maybe. And the reason I say maybe is because one of the things that really set the Vols back in 2008 was, if you remember, the hot seat talk of Fulmer really began in 2007 before they regrouped to win the East. They were 1-2. They had lost to Florida 59-20, and everybody wrote the program off as it had fallen apart before they regrouped to win the East that year. And I maintain that that kind of public narrative had a huge negative impact on recruiting for the Vols in 2008.
Possibly.
And I think had they been able to hold on and beat LSU, that would have had a totally different point. Tennessee fans were blaming the Georgia Dome in general as a curse because they never won in the Georgia Dome in the 2000s.
Interesting.
And it went all the way back to 2001 when they had that
window glass, and you can't really hear the crowd, at least in the pros. But at Georgia Dome, you could. That's my remembrance of the Georgia Dome. A.J. Johnson must be a great guy, that sort of thing. I hate that. And so I would hate it for Eric Ainge if he was, made out to be a Bill Buckner type goat. But still, I do wonder if maybe then, yes, it would be, wait a minute, Tennessee's supposed to play with LSU. If that was the mindset, if they might have been able to avoid some of the woes of the future.
She had struggled in that game, but Eric Ainge was carrying Tennessee all year to the SEC title with no receivers and a really suspect defense. And I think in that game, many Tennessee fans were thinking, he threw 2 interceptions, but he was playing the best defense in the country, and he was hoping that he could get a little bit of help from his defense at the end to make a play when the Tigers were starting the backup quarterback in Ryan Calhoun. And there was a key moment late in the game. The defense needed to get one stop, and they could have gotten the ball back, and Calhoun ran an option for a first down. And I think that, yes, Eric Ainge did struggle that game, but, it's kind of one of those things where you carry the team all year, you're struggling in this game, can you get a little help elsewhere for somebody to bail you out for once?
Okay, yeah, I understand.
I think that's the way people feel.
Look, I want goat horns on Bill Buckner. We should not do it to Neil O'Donnell. It wasn't his fault the receiver turned the wrong way. Heck, it wasn't Fred Merkel's way to
3-run lead, by the way, either.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah. There you go. You've been listening to Keith. But over the weekend, I did see where C.J. Beasley, maybe not the brightest prospect in the world, only a 3-star back, but he did choose Virginia Tech over Tennessee.
I think it was probably a player from that area, staying in that area. Yeah. I think, you have it is true that Justin Fuente is pretty proven. Virginia Tech has a system pretty proven in turning out skill players and making them look better. Tennessee, they already have their starting running back in waiting and Gray for a couple of years down the road, and Jeremy Banks is only a sophomore, so there were a couple of things that went through him at the
that as well. It seemed as if he had taken his visit and was talking all about Virginia Tech and said, it's just around here in the Tri-Cities. Hey, Virginia Tech gets a player away from Tennessee? And I took special interest in this because the other school he was looking at was Pitt, where I'm from. So, this was the total Marky Billson recruit, C.J. Beasley, running back, going to Virginia Tech. Season stories. What's Caleb Calhoun going to be writing about this week?
I'm going to be working a little bit today. I'll be working a little bit later on the obvious.
Trey
and then
Smith.
We have a few more things like that for this week. And then next week, first week of June, is when the real good features come in. Like I said, we're going to do we're still working on it right now, but we will be putting together the best in the country.
Now, there you go. So, in other words, you would be looking at, let's say, here's the best player from, Peyton Manning, I guess, from Louisiana, something like that. Or,
as you will see, there is some competition for Peyton Manning, funny enough.
Interesting. And so for the Tri-Cities, a B.D. Feathers from Bristol, Virginia, maybe from back in the day, could go in there. Or my hero, Bert Retchichar, once had the longest. Can't wait to see you choose for the volunteer state. There's a lot of guys out there that you got to look at. But anyway, I'm going to look forward to that, and we'll be talking about that, I'm sure. He's Caleb Calhoun. Read it at allfortennessee.com.
All right. Thanks
Thank
a lot.
you.